if specialized episodes of regular weekly Wednesday night programming are just a desperate ploy for ratings, then I guess my response is at least NXT is only doing one? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your NXT review for December 16th, 2020. We are almost there, and not that it's anything new, not that it's going to surprise any of you, but I'm fucking tired, so you're going to have to bear with me on this one. House cleaning is going to be real short, real sweet, really to the point. Last Friday, it went live, round one of myself and Guapo highlighting the AEW Tag Team Division. Gotta give them their props while it's due, because we've already moved on to round two of the Spotlight on NXT's Women's Division with myself and Jake DeMarco. That goes live this coming Friday right after SmackDown, which is 10 p.m. my time. I'm sure wherever you are, you can figure it out. If you are right now watching me on YouTube with the stupid sexy face and the gimmick hat, and you want to find me in an audio platform, you want to go to Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, etc., 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 search Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you are listening to me in one of those platforms right now and you want to find me on YouTube and you want to see the super sexy face and the gimmick hat, you want to go to YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix, go to Twitter at Spaz Phoenix and at Spaz Phoenix1, go to Instagram at Spaz Phoenix, get over to Facebook. Search the Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group. And yes, this YouTube channel is getting there. It's getting really, really close. I set myself a super small goal of 1,100 subs by the end of December, which gives me 15 more days to get that done. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it does, then you guys know who you are and you know that you're awesome. Shout out to all the people, and I'm not going to name people by name because I'm going to forget somebody and that'll be shitty, but all of you that share my shit around on social, to all my co-hosts, Guapo, Kristen, Jake, you guys are fucking phenomenal. If I don't say it enough, it is what it is. All the regulars in the chat, in the comment section, you guys are fucking great. 1,100 in the next 15 days. Can we do it? I don't know. But anyways, small goals are easier to attain, and you know, it'll do something for my brain because my brain is already tired. This week's episode of NXT started with a cold open. There was no intro, and half the people in the first match didn't get an introduction because we opened up with Kushida and Leon Ruff already in the ring. Don't call him Leo Rush because Leo Rush gets really, really upset. And they were taking on, and I can't believe this is actually officially their name. I thought it was kind of a gimmick. I thought it was kind of like the Kings of NXT, which is never really officially a thing, but also definitely is a thing. But no, the Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Austin Theory group is officially called The Way. And in the wake of The Mandalorian, if there are wrestlers that I am going to use the phrase, this is the way, towards coming off of my fandom of The Mandalorian, coming off of my fan of wrestling, it's never, ever, ever gonna be Sasha Banks, is it? No, no, no. Kushida and Gargano start the match. There's a tag to Theory immediately. The fake out start for the match for the heels. It's really, really great. And I will say, I'm going to get into the weeds of this match in a second. I will say, Gargano and Theory, regardless of the gimmicks, regardless of the faction, regardless of the other two ladies on the outside, whatever, Gargano and Theory work really well as a tag team. I'm not saying this is DIY version 2.0, but these guys work really well together. When we get to the finish, you're going to see me talk about the finish, and it's fucking wonderful. Anyways, headlock takeover by Theory, gets reversed right hands by Kushida, Insaguri knee lift, Kushida works on the arm, snap suplex by Theory, back elbow by Ruff, mounted punches to the back, mounted punches, I can speak, I swear, we're only 3 minutes in, this is a bad sign, mounted punches to the back of the skull by Gargano, snap Rana and an arm drag by Ruff, and some corner chops, body shots by Gargano, a forearm and a front suplex, corner chops by Theory and a hard Irish whip, double drop kick by Ruff and Kushida, Ruff eats the apron edge and then hits a DDT. Rolling Chaos Theory drop kick into a slingshot spear by Gargano was a beautiful, fluid thing for a debuting tag team, was it not? And that's what I wanted to talk about. That was a really, really awesome move, and that wasn't the end of the match. I'm an idiot. I didn't read my notes before I started, but it did send us into the commercial break. There's a grounded armbar by Theory, enziguri by Ruff, springboard takedown by Kushida, some more mounting punches, and a drop kick armbar driver. But I will say, other than the double team that I talked about before the commercial break, Kushida's armbar driver is really, really, it's one of those things that still makes your back go up. I mean, you watch enough wrestling and nothing really affects you anymore until you get something like a Foley Randy Orton like thumbtack spot, and then you just kind of cringe for a second and that shiver goes up your spine. The armbar driver that Kushida does literally looks like he's throwing the ball of your shoulder at the ground. And that, for some reason, every single time, I would believe that as a finisher. If you did the armbar driver, or you just held on to it and immediately went into a proper armbar to finish a match, I would believe that as a match finisher. How about you? Do you have a thought on this? Put it down in the comment section below, because my videos need more comments. A double enziguri spot by Kushida and Rush on the outside. There's a lariat by Gargano, a spinning sit-out powerbomb by Theory, a double super kick by Theory and Gargano, a neckbreaker by Ruff, a spinning flatliner thing by Theory. And this is not the first time I'm not going to know the name of something tonight, because we're going to talk about it literally in the next match. Spinning, rotating, flatliner thing by Austin Theory gets the win for the way. And then immediately we cut to the platforms that are at the back of the CWC that are getting used for various things. They were used to hold the War Games teams while their teammates competed. They were used for Shotzi Blackheart when she was hosting Halloween Havoc. Tonight it's hosting Dexter Lumis, who is there with a tablet, and it's blank because he hasn't drawn anything yet. I will say, theme of tonight, I love tonight. Not everything was spectacular. This episode was not a Michael Bay produced episode of NXT by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't all firecrackers. It wasn't all stuff that's going to set the world on fire. But there was no dead weight in this match. I didn't have to put up with Velveteen Dream. I didn't have to put up with Cameron Grimes. I didn't have to put up with Dexter Lumis in a match. I didn't have to put up with Timothy Thatcher in a match. There wasn't any matches that felt like filler. There was just solid all the way through. Everything had a purpose. Every match was a good match. There's a couple endings we're going to question. We'll get to that when we get to that. But there was no dead weight on this show, except for Dexter Lumis. And even those, we're going to talk about them 3 times tonight. It's fine. And each one of them was like less than a minute each. So if the dead weight over 2 hours is less than 3 minutes, that's a pretty good ratio. So it's a pretty solid show. If I want to come up with a word, I hate when I come up here and I try to tell you guys that it wasn't a super exciting show. It was very functional. This show was super functional, with some great wrestling throughout the show and built to New Year's Evil, which is already looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. But the only hiccup in that groove, the only thing that makes me say 100% that there was no dead weight in this match, was these little tiny inserts of Dexter Lumis that we are going to talk about. We also got a lot of video packages, so I'll just say that right now. We see a video package of Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm and their history. And if you guys know me, you watch me review the Mae Young Classic, you watch me review NXT UK when it was at its hype, when they were first establishing their women's division. What did I say? Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, fucking stars. So, little recap of Mae Young Classic and their history at NXT UK, and going towards the first ever NXT UK champion, and leading into this match that we're going to have later tonight. And the whole thing is narrated by Toni Storm, because of course it is, because she's the one that just turned heel. Really, really good. Now this is cool for a bunch of reasons. It's storytelling, for one thing, for people that didn't watch NXT UK, didn't watch the Mae Young Classic. It's character building for Toni Storm, because she's the one that just turned heel, and it informs the heel turn, and it allowed her to do some speaking, because as much as I love Toni Storm, promos and mic work and the talking bit is not her strong suit. So I think this sort of rectified that. It told a bit of a story. It brought people that weren't up to date. It served a lot of purposes, and WWE as a whole in general are always pretty good at the video package stuff. Shotzi Blackheart is in the back hyping up her match with Indy Hartwell. Now, I saw the clip just before NXT went live tonight, and it was what's his name? Wade Barrett and the vampire that sits next to him, and they were hyping up the matches that were coming up on tonight's show, and they were interrupted by Indy Hartwell as she dramatically rips off the comedy neck brace and says she's all ready to go and she's coming for Shotzi, and that's fine, that's cool, that's whatever. Now, we started the next match. I didn't recognize the guy coming out right now. I see the big graphic on the screen that says Tyler Rust, and I couldn't remember who Tyler Rust was, and then I remembered that it was Tommaso Ciampa's, or not Tommaso Ciampa, fuck, my brain's not working tonight. Timothy Thatcher's student that attacked Tommaso Ciampa. And he's having a match with Tommaso Ciampa. And here's me looking at the brand new guy and where he is in this particular storyline and looking at who Tommaso Ciampa is, one of the 4 pillars of NXT. That's just a thing. Sorry if you don't like it. And I'm thinking this is going to be a squash. And this was anything but a squash. Ciampa, mind games right away, goes to the side of the ring, grabs a chair, lays it in the entryway where they've both been watching each other have matches for a while. He even leaves a Timothy Thatcher shirt on the chair. The symbolism is fucking wonderful. Collar double tie to start, and there's a shoving match, and Rust works on the arm immediately. A takedown by Rust that's countered by Ciampa into a figure 4 headlock combination. Front face lock by Ciampa, Kimura attempt by Rust, a grounded headlock by Ciampa, and then Thatcher does indeed arrive. Ciampa in the ring, wrestling Rust and talking shit to Thatcher at the same time was pretty fucking good. Corner chops by Ciampa and a back elbow, and they all get tossed out. In the scuffle, Rust accidentally boots Thatcher in the face. On the outside, Thatcher is staring into the ring, making ominous threats and all that sort of thing. A bunch of other referees come to take him out again. Armringer takedown, face first on the apron by Rust to Ciampa, and Ciampa sold it like it was fucking death. As we go into the commercial break, I gotta mention that the commentators mentioned the interactions last week after the Ciampa Grimes match, when Grimes decided it was a good idea to get in Thatcher's face and got his leg fucked up, and to enhance the impending threat of Timothy Thatcher, they mentioned that Cameron Grimes isn't going to be around for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, that he could do a run-in next week, but Cameron Grimes is going straight to the hospital. Anyways, second of all, it does just make Thatcher look like $1 million, because even though I don't like Grimes, Grimes is a formidable figure in the grand story of NXT, and he does have a following of enough people that, you know, you kind of have to take notice of him. So him being off for a couple of weeks, if he is, it only tells the Thatcher story, which builds to another Thatcher Ciampa thing. People are saying that this is going to lead to them being a tag team a la Sheamus and Cesaro. I wouldn't mind that, but the more we go on and on and on to it, no. I kind of want to see, like, Thatcher and Loomis just take each other out, and we don't have to worry about them hurting anybody else, or not hurting anybody else, but negatively impacting the story progression or placement of other people on the show that I like. Anyways, after that ramble, because I do that, modified abdominal stress by Russ, and it gets reversed into a backdrop by Ciampa. Both men trade some strikes. There's rolling clotheslines by Ciampa, an air raid crash by Ciampa, some chops, and a series of kicks by Rust, multiple submission attempts by Rust, and this is where you really sort of tell this is the student of the Thatch Can, academy, whatever you want to call it, and he's going for these weird, some of them are really weird looking submission attempts, like sort of out of nowhere, which is really, really good. High knee by Ciampa, a flipping forward stunner thing. Like, it looks like he was going to give him a stunner, but then he sort of like did a somersault forward into it. I don't know. Commentary needs to tell us what the names of these things are. Grounded armbar by Rust and turns it into a double armbar. Ciampa beats up his leg as soon as he gets free, like hooks it up in the rope and then like beats the joint of his knee from all sides. And it was like that moment of, we were doing a bunch of technical, real, like in-ring ballet stuff, and now I'm just going to stomp the fuck out of your leg. Hits him with a high knee, and as I say in capital letters on my notes, fucking plants him with the Willow's Bell for the win. And as he's coming back up the rampway, he stops at the chair that he left for Thatcher at the beginning, picks up the Thatcher shirt, wipes the sweat off his face with it as Thatcher is looking on from the opposite side of the rampway, being held by referees. And it's just a bunch of good storytelling, and the smirk on Ciampa's face is awesome. That's not what I want to say. I don't want to talk about Thatcher. I don't want to talk about Ciampa. I will say, in all honesty, first time in a long time, for somebody that I've never really heard of, Tyler Rust looked really good in this match. I came out of this obviously knowing that Thatcher and Ciampa are going to fight again, obviously knowing that these guys might fight again, obviously knowing that the teacher and student might have a fight eventually. I just kind of really want to see what else Tyler Rust can do. This was a really, if they're calling this his debut, even though he's totally overshadowed by the story that is bigger than him, this isn't a bad debut. This isn't a bad debut at all. So we've got a brand new tag team in Gargano and Theory to start off the night, who formed together exceptionally well as a tag team, in my opinion. And then you got this guy who's literally come out of nowhere as like the protege type character, who had a really good debut match against, as I say, one of the 4 pillars of NXT in Tommaso Ciampa. He might not be in the title picture right now. He might not be in the main event right now, but you know what the writers and producers and directors and whatever you want to call it, the higher-ups of NXT think of Ciampa. We go back to that 4-way we had in the big mess after we didn't really have a champion and all that sort of thing. Who are the 4 pillars of NXT? It's Ciampa, it's Gargano, it's Balor, and it's Adam Cole. Baby. So anytime you go up against any 4 of those and you get to look as good as Tyler, anytime a brand new person steps into the ring with Tommaso Ciampa, anytime a brand new person, it's why Leon Ruff beating Johnny Gargano was such a big deal. If somebody came in and like absolutely smoked Adam Cole, it would matter. If somebody comes in and whoever, I mean, it's probably going to be KROSS, let's be real, takes the belt off Finn Balor, it's going to mean something, because they are that current Rushmore. They are that current Horsemen of NXT, are they not? This was, I can't believe the positive impression I came off of this match, honestly. And Ciampa's Ciampa. He's fucking amazing. And like I say, he hits the Willow's bell. He's hammering that tent spike into the fucking ground. Can't say enough good things about this. We see Loomis on his platform again, and he's drawing on his tablet, and that's wonderful. We see a video highlight package on the Grizzled Young Veterans, because I think they're really trying to say that next year they're going to put more, I mean, we can wish in one hand and shit in the other hand and see which hand gets filled first, but I think they're trying to imply that the tag team division is really going to get a lot more attention next year, which is really, really good. And then we come back after the commercial break, and we see what happened during the commercial break was Tyler Rust, after his loss to Tommaso Ciampa, getting a pep talk from Malcolm Bivens, who's really, really hyped to be this guy's manager. I don't know if we've ever explained why. And then we go back to Loomis again, and they mirror his tablet with the Trons in the arena, and he's sketching a black and white version of the New Year's Evil logo. Now, here's where I have to do my I'm Canadian and I'm going to bitch for a second thing. NXT needs to have a proper time slot on TV in Canada, because what we have up here is bullshit. What we get is a 1-hour condensed version of that week's NXT on Friday before SmackDown. And that is, I'm sorry, I'm being selfish, I don't really care, I'm tired. It's unacceptable. I have to watch it on a stream. I have to watch you guys have heard me say it a million times, I have to watch a stream of the USA Network. I have to reinvigorate my sympathy for my southern friends over how absolutely cringeworthy your advertisements are, but also it means if the stream dies, I'm fucked. So when they bring out, in the middle of the show, the #1 contenders match between Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne, and as soon as the announcements are done, my stream dies. I punch my desk a whole bunch, and we get on with our day. By the time I got the feedback, or by the time I got another link, we were already halfway into the match. But this was after the commentators had said, don't worry guys, this match is so important it's going to go uninterrupted. Now that didn't happen, because they still stuck commercials in this. They just did the picture-in-picture thing. But at least they didn't sell it like it was a positive, like a certain Mr. Ross does on a certain other channel, where I think they're having like a 27-man tag tonight, and they've got an old wrestler and an old celebrity, and I'm pretty sure Cody Rhodes is going to pull a Manson and try to suck his own dick. But there are those out there that will still say that it's better than WWE because they're teaming up with Impact now. And because it's AEW teaming up with Impact, people are all of a sudden going to pretend that they haven't been shitting on Impact for the past, like, 10 years. I love the hypocrisy of all of this. The point of this is, even as shit as AEW is, in some regards they're great, fine, whatever. In some regards, they're absolutely shit. But at least I can flip on TSN on that TV over there and watch AEW on a proper TV channel. NXT, get your shit right. Get me a TV channel that I can watch NXT on the night, so I don't have to watch shitty USA Network streams and shitty American commercials and shitty stream dying scenarios that make me miss an incredible match. Anyways, as I came back into the match, they had already kicked the shit out of each other. Dunn was stomping on Kyle O'Reilly's hand. He's kneeling into an armbar. He got knuckles dug into his friggin' temple. He's stomping on the arm. There's a top rope backflip by Kyle and a high knee and a leg sweep. Corner forearm by Kyle. Rolling double underhook suplexes by Kyle. The series of knee strikes. A series of kicks by Kyle, a spin kick to the side of the head by Dunn, a drop kick by Dunn, forearms in the ropes, exploder into the turnbuckle by Dunn. This was during the picture-in-picture commercial break. They trade some shots on the apron. There's a knee by Dunn, a power arm, a stomp to the hand, Kimura body scissor combination by Dunn, followed by a headbutt. Brainbuster by Kyle. They trade some more shots, and there's a cradle suplex by Kyle. At this point, we notice that Pete Dunne's mouth guard has fallen out, and when he crawls across the ring, he goes to reach for it, and literally gets his hands stomped by Kyle O'Reilly, which is awesome on two levels. The mentality and the psychology behind that is absolutely amazing, because A, if you're used to wrestling with a mouth guard in, as soon as your mouth guard is gone, you're going to feel vulnerable in the face, but also, who does the joint manipulation and the finger popping and the stomping of the joints and all that sort of thing? It's Pete Dunne. You start doing that to him while he's already in a psychologically vulnerable state because he doesn't have his mouth guard that you're keeping him from getting. That's a double tap of psychological warfare in the midst of a hard-hitting, bruising, smacking, like beat the shit out of you match. That's really, really good. Kyle stomps the hands. There's a triangle choke by Dunn. Forearm shots by Kyle. A boot and a double stomp by Dunn. Snaps the fingers, doesn't he? Suplex off the apron into the... sort of onto the floor, but also onto the floor and the corner, if you can call it a corner, between the floor and the guardrail. Pete Dunne struggles. I don't know whether this was a botch or whether they had to wrap the match up earlier or what, because Pete Dunne eventually crawls halfway back into the ring. Kyle O'Reilly's waiting on the top rope, drops a knee on the back of his head, and that gets him the win. Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor, Chapter 2, is something I'm never going to complain about, but I'm really kind of surprised that they didn't go with Dunn here, because Dunn versus Balor I don't think is anything that's gotten any particular spotlight in the framework of WWE, and I really would have liked that. But I can hope, on the plus side, that means that maybe they're saving it for a takeover. I guarantee you, the next proper takeover that NXT has is going to be Balor versus KROSS. It just is. KROSS is going to get over the little speed bump that they've got for him at New Year's Evil. I keep wanting to say New Year's Revolution because of that old pay-per-view, remember, with the fucking dragon gimmick logo thing. But it's New Year's Evil, and KARRION KROSS, as we're going to talk about in a second, has a little speed bump to get over on New Year's Evil before he goes and tracks down Balor. And I don't think that they're going to put the title on Kyle O'Reilly, which is kind of unfortunate because he's that guy that everybody wants to see in the title picture, but when we get there, also knows that he's not going to win. It's weird. It's really weird, and I'm really kind of surprised that they didn't put Pete Dunne in that spot. And yes, I'm biased. I got to see Pete Dunne carry that Destiny Championship. Yes, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bingo card for the first, I think, 8 shows that I saw him at. I've gotten to actually meet Pete Dunne. I have a bias. I admit my bias, unlike AEW fans. But yeah, as a consolation prize, like I say, round 2 of Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor doesn't hurt my feelings. You know what does hurt my brain a little bit is the Xia Li versus Boa stuff. Look at that transition. That was lame. More backstage stuff. You see Mia Yim. Where the fuck did that come from? Xia Li beating the fuck out of that wooden dummy again. Her hands are all bleeding and whatever. And then you see Boa, and he's still getting struck with stuff. And then they flash forward to, they've taken out the wooden dummy thing, and they've taken out whoever's striking Boa, and it's just Xia Li beating the shit out of Boa. So I'm wondering, because they're doing this in such a cinematic way, I was like, are they both delusional? Did Boa only think that it was somebody else hitting him with the kendo stick? Did Xia Li only think that she was hitting a rubber dummy, or a wooden dummy, sorry? And have they just been letting Xia Li kick the shit out of Boa for the last 3 weeks? Because that's weird. That's really weird. If you punch somebody so hard that your hands bleed, what does their face look like? That kind of thing. Like I say, it's just weird enough that I can't shit on it, because I can't deny that I'm intrigued by it. But every time they do a close-up on the eyes of the person that's organizing this whole thing, it does give off more and more and more of a Grudge vibe. So I hope it doesn't go and shit itself. Whenever this story, whatever it is, comes out of the cinematic realm, and eventually these people have to have matches, I hope it doesn't shit the bed, is all I'm saying. Because I am super I know that it's ridiculous. I know that it's goofy. I know that if somebody else walked in and saw me watching this, they'd be like, what the fuck? And I wouldn't have a good answer for them. But I can't lie and say that I'm not curious, that I'm not intrigued, and that they haven't baited the hook for me. So I really hope it doesn't shit the bed. I hope I'm not the fish sitting there on the shore with the hook stuck in my face, flopping around until I'm dead. What kind of metaphor was that? I'm really tired. Shotzi Blackheart versus Indy Hartwell, and Indy Hartwell has the way. This is the way. With her on the outside. Collar and elbow tie, and they trade waistlock takedowns to start. There's a shoulder tackle by Shotzi and a knee drop. Double arm submission by Shotzi and an Enziguri, corner cannonball by Shotzi, where I don't think the commentators could decide whether they were supposed to tell that it had hit or not. I don't think it completely hit, but don't go and turn around and say, oh, maybe that didn't hit, because that kind of commentary doesn't help me at all. Right hands by Indy and a back elbow and a takedown, a full Nelson facebuster by Indy, which was, I don't think, quite went off the way they wanted it to. Boot by Shotzi, corner clothesline, forearm by Shotzi, cannonball to the back of Indy Hartwell by Shotzi. Shotzi hits a knee strike through the ropes, but Candice makes a distraction on the apron. Indy Hartwell hits Shotzi full force with the Way trophy right in front of the referee. For reasons, Shotzi wins by DQ. There's a 2-on-1 beatdown from Indy and Candice, and they do a double team Wicked Stepsister, that big, huge stomp to the back of the head thing that Candice LeRae has been doing recently, and all four of them. See, this is the thing. This is where not allowing what's it called? Intergender wrestling sort of makes things awkward sometimes, because earlier on, when there was the tag match, you could have very easily had a 4-on-2. You could have had, the guys beating up Leon Ruff and Kushida, and Indy could have slapped one of them, and Candice could have kicked one of them in the nuts or whatever, and it would have been a legit 4-on-2. This was two of them beating up Shotzi, and the guys standing there and being like, yeah, we're winning. Now, I'm not advocating for the absolute destruction of Shotzi Blackheart. You guys know I love Shotzi, but from a storytelling point of view, just kind of awkward. Like, you could have sat this one out. Candice LeRae could have had a bit more of a spotlight as sort of like the proud mentor type thing. I don't think the guys needed to be out here for this, other than that final triumphant shot of the four of them for the second time that night. We get a Bronson Reed promo, which is cool. I like Bronson Reed. He's coming back next week. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't aware that he was definitely gone. Like, I know he hasn't been on the last couple of episodes, but I didn't realize that it was an actual, hey, Bronson's gone for a while thing. The way they're putting this Godzilla-type entrance together for him is really, really cool as well. And it works in the CWC because it surrounds the entire ring. I hope they do something with him. I hope he's not just a novelty, because I think he could be more than a novelty. KARRION Kross returns to NXT, and the one that draws the short straw is Desmond Troy, who dies. I mean, he gets his head caved in with a couple of shots. He gets thrown from one pillar to the other. Doomsday Saito cross jacket. It is what it is. It's as squash as you get. This was the kind of match, and I don't want to keep backtracking, this was the kind of match that I thought Tyler Rust and Ciampa was going to be towards the beginning of the night, but I guess they didn't because of this. He does the big grand fucking entrance. Scarlett is there as ever, looking Khaleesi as fuck. And after the match, they pose for a long while. He poses with his fucking hot-ass wife with the KARRION Kross logo framing them in the background. And he just sort of looks into the camera and he says, hey, Priest, January 2nd, make sure you tuck your chin because your ass is mine. TikTok. So there you go. New Year's Evil, so far, Damian Priest is going to get killed by KARRION KROSS, and Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly are going to have a round 2 for the NXT Championship. That's not a bad start to your not quite pay-per-view, sort of elevated weekly episode of wrestling. We get a bunch of just information thrown at us for a bit. Swerve is talking about his match against Atlas and why he wouldn't shake his hand last week. He says, I don't like losing, I shouldn't. And then he almost stops himself. He says, I shouldn't be losing to somebody like Jake Atlas, which is wonderful. The sum total of this is him, like, sort of running the line between being a frustrated babyface and sort of leaning into heel tendencies, but not quite. And I think he straddled that line pretty good. Bottom line is they're going to have a rematch next week, and that's pretty cool. I hope at some point they attach the #1 contender stipulation to this, so that either Swerve or Atlas can get another shot at what's his name, Santos Escobar. Because we haven't seen the Cruiserweight Championship in a couple of weeks, and that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of making me nervous. Everrise then come in and cut them off and talk about how basically last week was a 4-on-2. It was Imperium and the Grizzled Young Veterans versus them. They're petitioning the higher ups. They're petitioning the authority figures to get it like squeegeed from the record. What's her name? Mackenzie Mitchell says, "Does that mean you're asking Grizzled Young Veterans for a rematch?" No, we're not here to talk about wrestling. We're not here to talk about rematch. Everrise kicks ass, and then they leave, and I'm like, all right. So they're weird. And then we go to Dexter Lumis again, who has now colored in his New Year's Evil logo, but he's also drawn a picture of himself with the word host underneath. So the guy that doesn't talk and sits in the background drawing shit is hosting New Year's Evil. That's just banter enough to work. And then we get backstage comments from Balor, reacting to Kyle O'Reilly being the #1 contender, and I broke your heart, I broke your spirit, and you broke my jaw, and it's not going to be Balor and O'Reilly round 2. It's going to be Balor versus O'Reilly the end. And I'm like, all right, it's all good. I mean, they're not going to take the belt off Balor. As much as, like I say, I have nothing against O'Reilly. I think the guy, even in the positions that he's been put in recently, the guy's still underrated as hell, underutilized as hell, and when they do eventually break up the Undisputed Era, he's not the one I'm worried about. When they break up that team, it's Bobby Fish, if anything, because we've seen Roderick Strong as a singles guy. Adam Cole can definitely be a singles guy. Kyle O'Reilly is proving himself as a singles guy to somebody like me who's never seen him in that context before. I don't know what they do with Bobby Fish after this, if I'm honest. I'm sure he's great too as a singles guy, don't get me wrong, but he seems like the square peg that doesn't fit into a singles division. Then we have the main event, and I'm really happy this was the main event, because this is a feud that I'm a huge fan of. I'm really surprised that it was the main event, only because we had a #1 contendership match on this card tonight, and O'Reilly versus Balor, or O'Reilly versus Dunn, I figured they would have put in that slot, but hey, NXT's bread is being buttered right now by their women's division, and they know it, and they know the 2 stars they have in this particular feud. We know that they're basically picking up a feud that right where it left off in NXT UK, and it's Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm. Never, ever, ever gonna complain about that. Collar and elbow tie up in a side headlock by Storm, and she drags her to one knee. Gut shots by Ripley. Both women trade. I love these, by the way, because WWE gets accused of having Barbie dolls and all that kind of thing. I love these, like, King Kong and Godzilla matches that we're getting. We're getting Toni Storm, we're getting Rhea Ripley, we're getting somebody else that we're going to talk about in a moment. Mercedes Martinez is waiting in the wings. Piper Niven, as you've heard me and Jake talk about a lot, is somebody I really wish was in NXT, because you can have highly, highly, highly fast, nimble, athletic competition. You can get your Candice LeRae's, your Dakota Kai's, your Kacy Catanzaro's, your Caden Carter's, and all this. And trust me, all that is fantastic. But every now and then, just throw in a monster mash, and Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm is like that. Plus, I shouldn't say it because it makes me a shitty person, but the ass on Toni Storm, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh yes, collar and elbow tie up, side headlock. We did all that already. Chops to the back. Ring through the CWC, just that slap to the back, just, again, it's one of those things, just makes you cringe, just makes you stand up a little bit. Rolling lariats by Ripley, post shot and a boot by Storm sends us into commercial break. We come back from the commercial break, there's a rear naked choke by Storm, a boot by Ripley, a knee strike, a low drop kick by Ripley, and a boot to the back. Double headbutt spot takes both of them down, which is awesome. They both use the headbutt, they can both sell a headbutt, they can both do a headbutt, it's all good. Both women trade some shots. There's a dropkick by Ripley, a standing figure 4 by Ripley, a hangman by Storm, a forearm. Sorry about that. German suplex with a bridge by Storm was fucking gorgeous. Beal by the hair to follow. Snake eyes by Ripley. And 3 Hogan leg drops by Ripley. Doesn't get the win. Can you believe it? Ripley boots Storm off the apron into the waiting arms of Jesus Christ. It's Raquel Gonzalez on the outside. Raquel grabs Ripley, pulls her out of the ring, and then javelin throws her head first into the ring post. And sort of like she collapses on the apron. Tosses her back into the ring. Toni Storm hits the Storm Zero. Toni Storm also gets the win. Toni Storm is, I would say, of the two, the weaker character. She was later coming up to NXT. She's the one just fresh off a heel turn. She doesn't have, I think, the universal love that the NXT fans have for Rhea Ripley. That's why her face debut didn't work last year. I have no problem with her winning this. I have no problem with her winning it, especially with help, because I can't believe that they're using a rivalry that is this established to build to Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez, which has only been building for about the past month and a half or so. That part feels really backwards to me. I would have loved it to be Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez tonight, building to a proper pay-per-view match between these two that we saw fight tonight. But this was a great match. Never going to complain about it. You know we're going to see it again because you can rely on these guys, or these ladies I should say, to have a great match. These two, I think, and I don't think I'm stretching into hyperbole here, these two are the Gargano Ciampa of the women's division, where if you don't have anything else to put on your card that particular night, toss Storm and Ripley on there, they will kill each other. It's fine. Really cool way to end the night. I don't know, as I say, I love that it was put in the main event. I still don't know whether I would have made that choice. I might have put O'Reilly and Dunn in the main event spot, but then you wouldn't have had the reaction from Finn Balor, so that could have been different. But going into next week, they announced at some point during this match, I didn't write it down until afterwards, that next week on NXT, and yes, people out there that love to be negative, that love to be cringy, are like, oh my god, they're doing a goofy segment, whatever. Some of us like to have fun. It's going to be a very Gargano Christmas. I fucking love that, along with Atlas versus Swerve, the rematch. And like I say, so far for New Year's Evil, we've got Dexter Lumis hosting, which will be weird if nothing else. You got Kross versus Priest, you got Balor versus O'Reilly 2. I'm sure they'll add some kick-ass women's matches in there. We'll probably get a Cruiserweight title match announced at some point. You know me and Jake will be up here to preview it, so at least you've got that to look forward to, if nothing else. Like I say, this was a low-key, stacked episode of NXT, and like I say, the only dead weight on the entire show was Dexter Lumis drawing stuff. I don't know. Do with that what you will. I hope you guys are all doing really great. We're almost at the holiday season. For those of us that celebrate, we're almost at the New Year. I mean, okay, sorry. I was about to close out the video right there. I will give you guys the link if it's not there anymore, because I think the video might have been taken down. Have you seen the video that WWE put out there of many, many different WWE wrestlers fighting a 3D animation of a 2020 cartoon, and then the match gets saved with interference from an animated 2021 card? It's really bad. I think it at least was on the WWE proper YouTube channel. It might have been taken down. If somebody reminds me, I will put this down in the comment section of the video. I'll make it a pinned post or whatever. Please go check that shit out, and please tell me if you think that is as fucked up and wrong as I do, because that was not something I needed to see today. I'm just gonna put it out there. Really, and I mean, wrestlers doing their finishing moves on cartoon character. 2020, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost there. I gotta go. I'm tired. I'm gonna start ranting about how much 2020 sucks if I stay on here very much longer. That was NXT. It was a really good show. I'm looking forward to New Year's Evil. I'm sure you'll tell me why I'm wrong in the comment section down below. But I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to you every last one of you later. But for right now, take it out. Bye, guys.